and good morning. So I have a surprise guest with me here today.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning. So Rex has been visiting for a couple of days. Always good to see this guy. If you don't know, this is Rex Carroll. And well, there you go.
Well, sort of, kind of. White Cross.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Rex, we have Rob Rock on the show today.
I know. It's going to be pretty outstanding, if I do
Yes.
say so myself.
So from one guitar player to another good guitar player, Impellitteri.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
On a scale of 1 to 10. Well, there you go. 11.
About 1,199,000. Yeah, Chris Impellitteri, as I like to say, there's the event horizon of guitar, and that's Chris Impellitteri.
Yeah,
that's it. You can't. I don't see how anybody can ever do more than that.
Yeah,
he's the bomb.
Amazing
for sure.
Kind of fast.
For sure. And then you combine that with Rob Rock, and it's like it's undeniable. It's like a supernova. Blasting through your living room.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So we had a jam session last night.
Yeah, we did.
Really fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did a little praise and worship. Did couple blues jams in there.
Praise and worship.
Played a few songs.
Some old Larry Norman songs.
Did some Larry Norman. I think we did a White Cross song in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Jim Laverde did a couple things, and
How Great Thou Art.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And a lot of people brought their rigs and their guitars, and
they brought their guitars anyways.
Yeah, a few rigs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just really a lot of fun. Everybody enjoyed it. It was cool.
Yeah.
Really
All right.
Cool. So fun. Well, you need to come back and do that again.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I need an invitation.
Yeah. Well, you always have an invitation.
All righty. Well, all righty then.
So Rex and I will be together again in just a few weeks, Rex.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll be in Sweden together at Light the Dark Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And then White Cross will also be playing at Elements of Rock in Switzerland. So if you are in either of those two countries, they need to come and hang.
Come on down.
Come on down, as we always say, right? Well, you have a good drive.
All righty.
You're getting ready to hit the road.
Yeah, we're going to drive back to Chicago. Oh,
yes.
It's a long one.
It's a long distance from Nashville.
Yep.
So beautiful day for a drive, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just beautiful down here in Mount Juliet.
Yes.
It's just gorgeous down here. So,
well, you got to come back again.
Yeah.
Love having you here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
He's the best.
God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Love you, my friend.
Love you too.
Good to see you.
All right.
Next time.
All right. Yeah, next time.
All right.
See you, everybody.
Great. You never know who's going to pop on our screen, huh? Yeah, so we really had a great time yesterday with everybody here at Sanctuary. We just called it an evening with Rex. So, Peter, you're next. Come over here and sit with me.
What?
We've had this guy here for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
My friend Peter.
2.5 weeks.
Peter if you listen to Laudamus, then you know Peter and his voice and his guitar work. And our guest today, Rob Rock, is actually on one of your albums.
Yes.
Talk about that for a second.
We had this idea of bringing in some guests on that album, and Rob was one of the first names that came up. It was Marty Friedman was the first name.
Yeah.
Guitar player.
And he was on the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Rob Rock, and he just did a fantastic job, of course.
Yes. Great album, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Laudamus. And so Peter and your lovely wife, Eleanor, have been here for a couple weeks. We've enjoyed having you here. Peter has Sanctuary in Sweden, and good things happening there. And we're excited for some new concerts. We've done some festivals over the last 25 years.
Yes.
In Peter's part of Sweden besides Pop Fest and the other part, but we're just looking forward to doing even more, and it'll be great.
It's going to happen.
Right.
So yeah, we're starting off with 3 concerts with White Cross in March.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
Then we're going to do more stuff after that.
Good. Well, you have a good trip, dude. Good to have you here. They're leaving right now with Rex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to drive back to the Chicago area. Take this warm weather with you. You're going to need it when you get back there.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be important.
Yeah.
Love you, my friend, and we'll see you soon. Keep in touch with me.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. So, folks, we've had a great time with our friends here and people visiting from all over. We have Gigi from Romania just joined us on screen. And if you're joining us, folks, let me know where you're watching from. Love to say hello to you and love the fact that you're here. Sean is here from San Diego. That's what you get when you drop your egos on the beach. San Diego. That was a bad joke, sorry. David Kelly White, our good friend from Littleton, Colorado. 41 degrees there. I think it's going to be in the 70s here today, so we definitely have a little better weather than you do. Yes. And but good to have you here, David. Ian Anderson from Scotland. We got such great friends in Scotland, and you know, I haven't been back to Scotland for a while. I would love to go back. Some great friends, beautiful, beautiful country there, and love to hit that again one of these days. It would be great to be back. And Zane is here from Texas. Zana, excuse me, my eyes aren't focused yet today. Zana Taylor from Texas. And folks, again, if you're joining me, just let me know that you're here. Rodney Jeffrey from our good friend from Australia, good friend of the ministry. Good morning to all of our friends down under. Actually, it's good night to all of our friends down under. It's after midnight there. So Rodney, you're up late. I appreciate you joining us this late. That's awesome. Our good friend Barry is here, and Barry will be visiting us here very soon in Nashville. It'll be good to have you here, and good to see you, Barry. Very, very much. So next week we have a special Valentine's Day show, and I'm excited for our special guests, Gary and Kim Elliott, will be here. Gary and Kim are experts on love, I would say. They've written quite a few books. They're part of our church here in Sanctuary. And then we're also going to have Glenn and Sherry Mancaruso. Glenn is the drummer for Vengeance, and of course they're about ready to make their comeback real soon here. We're excited for that. But Glenn and his wife Sherry will be here, and then their son, who was the first baby born in Sanctuary. The first baby, yeah. He's 36, 37 now, whatever he is. But Joey and his new wife, Crystal, will be here also. We wanted just to have 2 generations here too. And they will be joining Kim and Gary. And this is Kim and Gary's latest book, Violets in the Snow. And they'll be again joining us next week. We're excited for that to happen. And other things coming up. We got some good bands, good people to chat with this month. You won't want to miss a single one of these. Well, I have a great co-host today that I want to get on quickly because we're excited to talk to him. He's one of my favorite people in the whole world. Hayden is here. There he is.
What up?
Dude, you are just too cool.
Dude, I wish.
Whenever I see Hayden, I think, you know, I've really got to up my cool factor.
You know, I get it.
That's it. That's the whole thing, isn't it?
Dude, I know we were talking beforehand. You were the one who convinced me to grow my hair out way back in the day. So
I was.
yeah, so it's
Well,
it
and
goes back.
good. It looks good. You're looking
Boom.
great.
Boom.
I like it. Yes. So, Hayden, I wanted to do a little update because we haven't talked about your books for a while,
Hmm.
and I think we need to do a "Where is Hayden now?" That's what we're
Okay.
doing. Where is Hayden now? And Hayden, you have one of your books handy there.
Yes.
We go. I think John might have them there. You've got 2 graphic novels out so far.
Yes, sir.
Explain the graphic novels. We've talked a little bit on this show about what they're about and how they came about. Give us a quick synopsis for people that don't know your work and God forbid don't know who you are. If they, I don't know.
Well, we'll open a confession booth for those people. No, I was kidding. No, yeah. So the Crimson Six this is the second one, but basically what it is it's just I love comic books, I love superheroes, and I just love that like the classic old fashioned like fun feel, like the old Avengers and like 90s comic books, 80s comic books, and even like a lot of like animated shows, and so I try to just capture that energy and that fun. Making comic books. And so, but the whole thing is that it kind of started from a challenge from you, Bob, of like making each character based on heavy metal. And so each character represents a different type of metal, but basically it's to totally simplify it, it's basically a good versus evil story and trying to really my hope was to show that like good does overcome evil and that there is light in the darkness. And so the first one, the main villain is the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper who is trying to envelop the world in death. And so our heavy metal superheroes have to go in and save the day, right? And then the second one is kind of it's not necessarily a continuation, but it's continuing the story and the aftermath. And the villain is now somebody who was never shown grace and was never shown forgiveness, and now is intent on treating the rest of the world as he was treated. And now the team has to figure out how do we stop someone like that. So yeah, it's basically like I could go into the plot, but basically it's like if you like fun superhero stories of good versus evil, while also some like allegory and good themes. Like if you like Lord of the Rings and you like Spider-Man and heavy metal, boom, that's the Crimson Six.
Win. Yes, right.
Yeah. Triple threat.
It will keep you going. You will have trouble putting it down. And Hayden wrote the storyline on both of them, plus did all the artwork. And Hayden, it takes you a couple of years to do a book.
Yeah. The first one took me 2 years, and then the second one actually took me 4 years, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, just because I have to balance it with my other work and stuff, and it's pretty hefty load. So yeah, about 2 to 4 years.
Well, and people are asking, are there any rumors of Hayden doing book number 3?
There are, yeah. So book number 3 will come. I actually am taking a break from the Crimson Six to release another book that I'm working on. Kind of one thing that I've learned from you in the past and talking with you is like if I'm struggling to have passion for something and if I'm struggling to get excited about something, it might not be what God wants me to do right now.
Yes.
And I've kind of, as I've grown so I help with the youth ministry at my church, and I've gotten to know a lot of like middle school age people. And for me, in the past year, I've just had a really big burden for like, how do we reach out to like young boys and young men, and how do we like show them what it means to be a good man in a world that's trying to tell us not to, right? When there's so many temptations and so many things. And I have become a huge Western fan lately. And so like I've been watching like the classics like Shane, like which I think is one of the best movies ever made. If you haven't seen the old Western Shane, you got to see it. But I think one of the cool things about Westerns is that that's a really big theme for it. And so just the thing that I'm like really excited about and I feel kind of like God calling me to do is a space Western that really is like talking about like what does it mean to pursue honor and being a good man, even though everything in us wants to not do that. And when the world tells us that it's better to let that go. And so that I'm really excited about that. I've been working on that for a while. And in the meantime, while I do that, number 3 can be made as well. So I'm going to be writing number 3 as well. But I'm also, I try to follow like where I feel like God is leading me in these different things. And I feel like this next one is kind of really needed right now. So
I totally agree. Well, Hayden, you know, there's so many of us that are fans of Hayden Cockrill and also of his work and his artwork. You know, Hayden does a whole lot of our stuff here. And in fact, some of you have this is a re-release. You did another cover for this one. But whenever you see something, it's usually Hayden that's designed it because he is the best, just saying. But you did a great job. Did a great job on Roger Dale Martin's book about vengeance and some of the history.
Yeah.
And you've just done a great job for us, dude. It's been awesome. So now that you're an old married man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How was marriage so far?
I like it. I love it. I'm a fan. I highly recommend it. I'm a big fan. It's funny because as we're shooting this, so we're in it's not tiny, but it's a 1-bedroom apartment. So I'm like up against the wall while my wife is like trying to get ready for the day and like all that stuff. But yeah, I really enjoy it. It's been really, honestly, I remember, you know, when you're not married and either you're dating or just you're a single guy, you're kind of told by people like, oh, the first year is going to be so hard and it's going to be like a wake up call and it's going to be one of the worst years. And honestly, like we're coming up on 1 year next month and we have not experienced any of that. So praise God. You know, and we had really deliberate family members and like church family members who were made sure to make us go through premarital, which when I first heard about premarital, I was like, what's that? I don't even know what that is. We don't need to do that. And now I'm really grateful that we did because it makes like the biggest difference, but it prepared us and like, it's been great. It's like having like your best friend live with you. So I like it.
I love that, dude. And yes, marriage is awesome. And it's up to you whether it's wedded bliss or wedded blisters.
Right.
And I'm glad to hear it's bliss. That's a good thing.
It's good. And I think like, the biggest thing that I've learned so far, and there's going to be a lot of things to learn, I'm sure, but the biggest thing is just like, if I can admit when I've been a turd and own up to it, and especially before having to be talked to about it, that honestly solves a lot of problems.
Yes, absolutely. Well, dude, it's so good to catch up, and I'm excited about what you're doing. We are going to have Hayden back a little more often because I love having him here, and he's a good co-host, and plus he makes me look good. You know, he makes me look good because he is, well, you know, he's the coolest guy, and I pale in comparison, but he's a cool guy, and I love having him here. Love you, my friend. Always
you too.
Love you here too. Always.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm excited that we have Rob Rock coming up. He's amazing. And we're going to talk about Rob's history. Goes way back and to the beginnings of, before Sanctuary, actually. Rob has been on the scene for a whole lot of years. I don't have to give him much introduction, but we'll talk to him in just a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Rock stars on guard, caught in the fire, searching for meaning.
And we're back. I am excited to have Rob Rock with us today. And it's been a little while in coming. I'm excited to spend a little time with him and pick his brain and talk about his history. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning. How are you?
Great to have you here. So, Rob, I have to say before we start that you and I have both been involved in this movement for 40, well, you 40 plus years. We started Sanctuary 40 years ago. And we have so many friends in common. We have so many things that we've both done in the same circles. And this is the first time that you and I have met.
That's crazy, huh?
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And people ask me, you know, how well do you know Rob Rock? And I'm a huge fan. I know your music. I know everything about you, but we've never had an opportunity to meet. So I'm thankful to have you here today.
Yes, I'm thankful to be here too. I'm excited about meeting you and talking to everybody. And
great,
it's great that I'm here.
Well, I don't think you're a stranger to anybody that's here. We've got people joining us from all over the world. Jonas is here from Sanctuary in Kenya, Africa.
Wow.
Great fellowship, and they're doing one of our new praise and worship albums right now on the new label. We have a new label called Intense Worship Records, just doing worship stuff. But anyway, good friends all over the world joining us from quite a few countries. And Rob, you're not a stranger, especially to people in Japan, people in Europe, all throughout Europe.
Yeah.
A lot of your concerts are outside of the United States, actually.
Yeah, I would say most of them, you know, between Japan, Europe, and South America.
Yeah.
You know, we've done a few shows in the United States, but those other countries are the ones that really have embraced us in a big way, you know?
Yeah, that is so great. Well, I want to talk about your history. And you saw probably that we had Peter sitting here just a few minutes ago from Loud, and you actually sang on his album. I think you've either been in a band or you know, did some guest vocals on probably too many albums to mention, but you've been busy all these years.
Yeah, that's the thing. I never thought about the train.
Yeah.
Traveling for 40 years straight, you know. In the beginning, you know, it was just all about, for me, it was all about trying to be a rock star, trying to make it. And I started out in the clubs in New England, and I had a band there, and we were playing 6-7 nights a week. Back then you could actually make a living. So
yeah,
I was a young 20-something year old. That's what I was doing, trying to make it. And that was a good breeding ground, and that was like my school. You know, I don't know what kids do these days to hone their craft, but I did it playing live, and I think I've been blessed that way. So,
and 7 days a week, you definitely learn your craft.
Yeah.
That's
that was like 3 or 4 sets a night too. It was you know, it was back then when the drinking age was 18, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the clubs were packed with kids, and
yes,
and, you know, that was the thing to do at that age. And
I forgot about that. It was 18.
Yeah. And it's slowly risen, you know, throughout the years, but way back when, that's what it was. I actually started right when I was 16 in the clubs playing drums in my brother's band. So that's how I got started. And
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a long journey.
My first introduction to you, Rob, was of course in Joshua, and Joshua is a friend that you and I had in common. Joshua passed away just a few months ago. What a great guy! What a great guitar player!
Yeah, definitely. Great songwriter, I think. You know.
Yes, and when the album came out with Jeff Enholt, he asked me if I would endorse the album, and of course I did. It was an amazing album, and before that, you know, I had heard of Joshua for many years, just in the industry, and it was it was really great to connect with him. And we have the same birthday. We were born the same year, same day.
Wow.
So, yeah, so we celebrated our birthdays together every year. But you started with Joshua. Can you just kind of take us back to that time for a minute and talk about how did that all begin and what was your introduction with Joshua?
Well, I'll go way back if you want.
Yeah.
From that club scene, I had gotten a call from Mike Varney, who was the guy that was running Shrapnel Records, and I guess he was a columnist for Guitar World magazine and stuff. And he was involved with putting a super group together that was Mars Project Driver with Rudy Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, and Tony McAlpine.
Yes, right.
And he called me up and said, "Oh, I got a once-in-a-lifetime chance for you. You want to come audition for us?" And I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, I want to audition for you." And I thought that was my ticket to making it, with rock stars like Tommy Aldridge and Rudy Sarzo. What could go wrong? And Tony McAlpine was from my area, so I knew Tony, and I knew he was a fantastic musician, both keyboardist and guitar player. And so at that time, I went and auditioned. I ended up getting the gig. I flew out there. I left the band back east and just kind of, we had the crew, the PA, the trucks. We were really doing well. And it was a big decision, but I decided to go for it because, that's what I was searching for. And I got the gig. We did the album. The album came out, and while we were trying to book tour behind the album, Rudy got in touch with some managers, and they were in touch with Whitesnake, and then Whitesnake said, "Hey, we need a rhythm section," and yada yada yada. Yeah. Rudy and Tommy joined Whitesnake and had great success with the 1987 album.
Yes,
but that left me out in LA after 4 or 5 years of building this club machine back east. And that was a really low point for me because, 1 minute I thought I made it. For 6 months, I'm riding high, and then boom, the rug's pulled out. And I'm out in LA saying, who do I know out here? Who do I know? What am I doing out here? And I was at that point, I realized I was obsessed with being a rock star. And through my Christian upbringing, I remembered that I probably wasn't pleasing the Lord with that attitude. So at that point, I decided that I'll put the Lord first and just see what he wants to do. And so I saw I forget the name of the paper, but there was a small newspaper around LA where all the musicians would advertise and stuff.
Yes.
And Joshua had an ad in there for a singer, RCA recording artist looking for a singer and all that. I said, "Oh, that sounds good." And it was a Christian band. So I was like, "Oh yeah, that's real good. That's what I want to do." So, but I had my attitude was bad, and I got to admit, I was down, and I just said, "Lord, I don't care what you do," but Joshua requested, I want a professional 8x10, a professional, recording and a bio and all this stuff. And I didn't have any of that at the time. So I just took a cassette tape from the studio from the Mars Project Driver. It wasn't outlet yet. And I just put it in a napkin, wrote my name and number on it, and sent it. And then he called me up and said, "Oh, you need to come down to our rehearsal studio." So I went down there, and then we ended up rehearsing for 2 years in that rehearsal studio for the Intense Defense album, before we went to Germany with Dieter Dierks. So
yeah,
during that 2 years, I really locked in with the Lord, with Joshua. We had a great spiritual, friendship going on, and I was blessed by that. And I thank the Lord that he took the reins and, just guided me on my way. I didn't get the big rock stardom that I was seeking, but I did get 40 years longevity. So I think that maybe I won in the end.
Yeah, but I think you're doing something right. Yes.
I think whenever you go God's way, you're going to win. So you just can't see it from where you're standing at the time,
Yeah.
He knows the big picture. So.
Well, and Driver was a great project, good music. But how was it then to go into Joshua? And again, great guitar player, great music.
Yeah.
What was the transition like for you going from definitely a secular situation. And I hate to use the name secular versus Christian because I think we should just call it all music, but a little different kind of emphasis with the music. What was that transition like for you?
Well, Mars was like such a learning experience. I was never really in the studio before, and I was put under a great amount of pressure from Mike Varney.
I'm sure.
Singing on on that record there, Project Driver, and it was very intense sessions, very very big learning experience for me. And like I said, it was just chasing the dream, and I went from that to, I think I was humbled after that fell apart big time, and just being among fellowship with 5 guys that believed in the Lord, that prayed together, that really, it really spoke to my soul. I was like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I knew it. And from then on, I just always wanted to have Christian lyrics in my whatever I wrote. There had to be some kind of angle to reflect, the Christian viewpoint of songs or life or viewpoints of the world, so.
Yes. And was that the point then, Rob, where you went from there was it straight to Angelica at that point, or what happened in the time?
Well, in the Joshua, the lineup that we had at that point had ended up breaking apart because after 6 months of living together in Germany, I think everyone was on their edge together.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We only expected to be there 2 months. We ended up being there 6 months. And when we got back, we had a big time manager. We had Howard Marks, who was managing Kiss, and Diana Ross. And we were like, wow, this is going to be great. And Howard said, I'm going to find you a tour while he shops it to the record labels. It was RCA Europe, and he was trying to get RCA America to do it. Mm-hmm. And so there started to be some business problems going on because half the band wanted to just jump on the first thing that came along, which was actually the Wasp tour was suggested. And back then it was like we had to buy on to the Wasp tour. So half the band was like, buy on? What's that? Yeah. What's that? We just didn't know about the business end of things. And then the other half was like, wait on Howard Marks. I mean, this guy has got Diana Ross. This guy's got Kiss. He knows what he's talking about. And he says to wait. I'll find you something better. So that's where half the band wanted to wait. The other half didn't want to wait. And then it became like a power struggle or something. And everyone just went. Pfft. Wow. And then I was like, wow. So I started. I met Roy Z during that time after that. And Roy Z knew Emil Lech on bass. And I knew Greg. Greg was in Joshua. And, we just put a new band together called Driver with Roy Z in it. And Roy Z he's another great songwriter. And so I just started on that road. And while I was recording demos with Driver, I got a call from Ken Tamplin. Now, Ken Tamplin I know because when I first joined Joshua, Ken Tamplin was still in Joshua.
Yes, right.
So it was, and at that point, when I joined Joshua, I was like, oh, this is going to be like Journey or Styx, 2 lead singers. That's great. But that's, things didn't work out that way. And Ken left off on his own. And, so here we are I'm in Driver now, and Ken's producing Angelica. He produced the first Angelica with Dennis Cameron. And he called me up, said, Rob, we're having trouble getting the right performances we want for the vocals. Would you be interested in coming down and singing for me, And he told me it was on a Christian label, and I was hungry to be on a Christian label. And not that I would be on the label myself, but I came down to work on that label. Maybe I'd meet some people, right?
Right.
So I came down there, and I was there. I was actually there a day and a half, I think it was, and just came down and sang all the songs. With Ken was in the booth, telling me what the song was. Here's the song. Here's how it goes. Sing it. Sing it. Okay, next song. Sing it. Sing it. I realized they were on a really tight budget, so it was kind of it was a studio session for me. So I got paid to go sing vocals and on a Christian label, and that's what I did, and I was happy to do that. And
yes,
meanwhile, I went back. I was still in the second version of Driver with Roy Z, and that's how that happened.
That's awesome.
So,
and you know, and Ken Templin, what a great guy, and intense. You know,
Yeah.
you worked with two of the more intense people that I know, Joshua and Ken Templin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Intense
Yeah.
guys, but some of the most dedicated people in music you'll ever meet, and yeah, it's interesting that you ended up working with both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're both great guys too, and they're powerhouse players and writers. And
Yes.
you know, I've been blessed to work with a lot of people that are really talented. So
I remember many years ago, like probably 35 years ago at least, I was having some coffee with Ken, and he said, you know, the Lord has told me that I need to spend equal amount of time in the Word that I spend with music, that I'm really off balance. And I thought that's pretty impressive because I knew how much time he spent with music.
yeah, yeah.
And I could just see his life just growing by leaps and bounds. And so I had him on the show here a few weeks ago, actually, and I reminded him of that, you know, that he had told me probably 35 years ago. And he said, you know, I still do that. He said, that's still the key to everything that I do. That's amazing. But that's Ken, you know, he isn't, and he's,
he's driven, he's hyper focused. Yeah,
yeah, amazing guy. So let's bring it up to date a little more. And you're playing with Impellitteri. You know, he is probably, I think, one of the best guitar players around.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of people that try to come up to his standard, and sometimes people say, well, I can play almost as fast as, you know. But dude, he is incredible. I don't know how I don't know how fingers move that fast. And not just his speed, but just his precision on his instrument is just amazing. But so tell us, how did you guys meet, and how did your gig with Impellitteri come about?
Well, I told you about the club band I had back then, in the beginning, and Chris at one point was in the band for about a year, and we're playing all the clubs, and you know, we're kind of rotating in 10, 12 clubs, you know, every week. But Chris comes in, and for a year, he was amazing. He was amazing. He was louder than loud, and the club owners didn't like that. They always complained. Once Chris got in there, it was like blowing the roof off the place. But it was funny because every time we played, there's always be a gathering of people right in front of Chris, and they were amazed by his playing.
Yes.
And you know, I was amazed by his playing. I mean, when I met him at first, I was playing with my band. We opened up for the Allman Brothers Band in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he was there in the audience. He actually owned the PA system that they rented for that night.
Wow.
And he came up to me and said, man, we need to be in a band together. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool. You know, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't know you from a hole in the wall. And he said, yeah, you know, this is my PA and stuff. I can actually meet you down here tomorrow. And, you know, I'll play for you and you can sing with me. We'll see if we got any chemistry or whatever. And I was like, this is weird, man. But you know what? Let's do it. You know, what am I going to do? You know, I'm back in the club. I'm going to be there anyway for the show later. So came down here, and he had his stack, his Marshall stack, actually two of them, stacked up and plugged in. And he just wailed, and I was just wow.
Yeah,
this was amazing. I was going from a hard rock radio cover band playing some originals, and then Chris came in, and I'm like, this is really what I want to do, the heavier stuff, the old, you know, stuff with fire, like the Dio stuff, you know. And Chris had all the fire in the world. So I said, man, why don't you just join my band and, you know,
and he
see
just
where it goes. So he joined the band for about a year. We blew up the clubs. Chris was too anxious to get out to LA. He was all about getting to LA because LA is where it's happening and all that. And I think me and the rest of the band were like, oh, that'd be great, but why don't we try to get a deal so we can all go out there and you know, have a place to go and, you know, trying to have our ducks in a row. And Chris just got tired of waiting. He went out on his own, and he went out there, and he was out there for about a year before I went out for the Mars Project driver gig.
Yes.
And after the Mars Project driver gig, he called me up and said, Rob, hey, Chris, what's up? He said, I can't find any singers like you here. And if you're not doing nothing, I'm demoing some songs right now. Could you come sing some demos for me? And I wasn't doing anything. I had mailed off the tape to Joshua at that time, but I didn't hear anything right away. So yeah, I went down and recorded the Black EP with Chris, you know. And at that time we were sitting in my apartment, and we wrote like 12 songs. We had 12 songs demoed up. And the night before he comes over, he goes, I don't like any of these songs. Let's start over. And we wrote 4 new ones the night before the sessions. And we went in there and just Lost in the Rain, all the fiery songs just came out of that session. And, you know, turned out to be the great thing. He was shopping that. Joshua calls. I go join Joshua on RFCA. He gets a deal with Relativity in the meantime. And he says, well, Rob went to Joshua. What am I going to do now? And he said, well, let's put a super band for you. That's when they got Graham Bonnet and Pat Torpe and these other great players, and put a band together for Chris for his Relativity Stand in Line album. So I had Joshua going on over here, and then Impellitteri going on over here. And then later on in life, we hooked up back again. I think it was 1991, you know, and I had done Driver for a while. We tried so hard to get signed. We probably did 30 songs together, and had a lot of interest from Atlantic Records in New York City, and they told us Nirvana was coming, and we're not signing rock bands like this anymore. And I was like, what? Now I'm too late. I missed the bus, you know. And that's basically kind of what happened.
Wow.
You know, we missed the bus on that. But later in life, when I did my solo albums with Roy Z, we went back and listened to those old cassettes and said, oh, that was killer. Yeah, let's do that. And we worked up, and we ended up, you know, writing 4 solo albums together.
Amazing.
And those are like the highlight of my career, I think, because I was really with Roy Z. He's such a great producer that he makes you express yourself and just kind of guides you along the way. And I just, those 4 solo albums to me were something I really wanted to accomplish. And, you know, I wanted to do solo albums because I was working with so many players. I was like, man, can I do something on my own? So I did the 4 solo albums, and then, you know, I continued on with Impellitteri. After that, you know, Chris said, all right, come on, man, let's do it again. And that's when I went back and did Wicked Maiden with him, and I've been with him ever since. So together we've done probably 12, I think it's 11 or 12 albums now. And, you know, a month from now we'll be playing in Japan, doing a Japan tour. So it's still rolling. You know, I'm real grateful that I'm still going at this age, you might say. Still going at this age. So I praise the Lord for that, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yes, absolutely. Such great longevity. We've got some questions, and folks, if you have any questions, again, if you're just joining us, my guest is Rob Rock, who really doesn't need much of an introduction, but we're having a great time talking about so many things. He says, question, and this is from Jonas in Kenya. Most of your shows are outside the U.S. Why do you think that is? Is it because you prefer the musical style, or is it because they're more spiritually open toward Christian music? It's a good question.
I think it's a little of both. I think Japan, when we hit Japan in 91, was it 91? Around the Grin and Barrett time, they just embraced us, man. They went crazy. We were selling big shows there. And since that time, we've just carried on throughout Japan. And then in Europe, my solo records came out, and they were really big in Germany and Sweden. And Europe became a touring place for Rob Rock, solo act. And now, you know, I had a manager, the manager that introduced me to Laudamus. His name is Reiner Mittelstadt. And he just helped me when I came back for touring later in my career as a solo artist. He said, I manage a band called Narnia.
Yes.
And you need a band, and we can't really make this tour happen if I have to ship 5 guys over and all the expenses of the flights and the hotels and the travel and all that. He says,
right.
What do you think if you just played with like some of the Narnia guys and make a band that way. And that's what ended up happening. So I started playing with the Narnia guys, and that was during, I think, the Garden of Chaos album. And we did some shows together. And since then, we've toured. I'm saying Narnia with Rob Rock or Rob Rock with Narnia guys.
Yes.
We just toured South America in 23 for I think it was 4 weeks over there. And that to me was the most spiritually satisfying time, because we had a group of guys. We had Christian, the singer Christian, and myself.
Yeah.
We were all praying together. We were one, man. We were one in the Lord. And that to me is what it's all about. And
really great band. I mean, musicianship.
Oh, yeah.
Well, those guys are players. They know how to play their instruments.
They do.
And Christian, also a very good friend. I keep in touch with them a lot, and we've spent a lot of time together. But they are awesome and
very professional.
See that tour? Yeah, they really are. And talk about a showman. Christian is probably the most dramatic.
Oh yeah,
performer I know.
Yeah, yeah. And CJ Grimmark to me is also a great talent, great guitarist, great songwriter. And over the years, since Garden of Chaos and through to the present time, I've actually been writing songs with CJ Grimmark.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I'll let a little cat out of the bag for you. We've been working on a Rob Rock solo album.
Well, that's one of our questions here.
Hopefully, show up soon.
Yeah, John, if you can put that question up from Rudy, I believe, had a question for us. Wanting to know, I think, about he's been a big fan for a long time and wanted to know about, there we go.
Oh.
I've been a Rob Rock fan for over 20 years. I can't say enough about how much his music has meant to me. You've been an inspiration, and I thank you. I think you're the greatest singer ever. There you go. He says, thank you for all the great music that you have collected. I love Destroyer of Death and War Machine. Please release another solo album. This is going to be good news for Rudy.
Good news for Rudy. Yeah, I'm working on it with CJ. I mean, we got 10 or 11 songs written. We got 3 of them recorded, so we're in the process. But it keeps kind of getting put on hold and here and there. So it's on hold now. I'm doing the Impellitteri run, and we go through. We've done the album, and now we're doing some touring. And CJ's, I believe, is working on a new Narnia album right now. So
great.
Hopefully over the summer we'll get back together again and finish it up.
Awesome.
See what the Lord wills on that.
Awesome player. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So he says, Robert says, could you talk about project? How do you pronounce this? Aegis? Working with
I don't know. Aegis. Yeah.
Would you be up for doing something like that again?
Yeah, that was another, Matt called me and or text or emailed me and said, would you be interested in doing a song with me? And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in that. And then he sent the music, says, well, here's your parts. Just go in the studio somewhere and sing it. So that's what I did. I went to I have a friend that lives in Orlando. I'm in Daytona Beach. So I drove to Orlando and sang the parts and sent them off. And then later on, he put it all together. And I didn't know if it was just me and Matt singing or not, but he ended up, like I said, Daisy, and there's a couple other singers on there as well. So I think that song is a great song. I mean, Matt did a great job, and it came out great. I love it. I love that song, and it's for a great cause, and it's raising money, I believe, for homeless people and stuff like that.
Awesome.
And so I'm really I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm glad I participated in that, and I'd be up for doing it again as well.
Jonas says, you've been around since before I was born. How does that feel?
Thanks, man.
And I have to tell you, whenever I've been hosting one of the festivals for about 4 or 5 years now in Ohio that we call Immortal Fest, and a lot of the old bands getting back together, and these older bald-headed guys coming up to me and saying, Pastor Bob, I remember seeing you when I was a kid, and I followed you ever since then. And I'm thinking, you can't possibly be younger than me. I guess
Yeah.
after how long I've been doing this, but you've been around for a while, Rob, and you look good, by the way.
Yeah.
You really do. But he
Well,
says
thank you.
you've been around since before I was born. In what areas do you feel the music industry has changed the most from back compared to today? Well, that's
Oof.
a really great question. We could be on
Man,
that for a long time.
it has changed so dramatically.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I was in those clubs, dreaming about a record deal, it was, I got to get an album out, a vinyl album out on the radio. And now it's just completely different. The whole model has changed from building a fan base, from a record label, taking a band that they thought was talented, building a fan base and releasing it and putting them on tour. All that is, to me, is gone now. Now it's like,
Yeah, it is.
the kids coming up now, they have to record their own stuff by themselves
Yes.
in a home, build their own fan base online, and the whole thing is internet. And they can actually sell their own stuff on their own. Sometimes I think it might be better to stay on your own than a record label these days.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the
Rob,
whole thing has changed.
Yeah, some of the best albums these days. We say albums like we still do albums, but
Yeah.
the best music these days, people have this idea that when they listen to this music, that you're sitting somewhere in this giant studio with a huge Neve board, automated board, and you got all the props and all the bells and whistles. And in reality, a whole lot of albums are made with, sitting in front of your Mac computer and hammering it out and sending files through the mail.
well, like for me, the old Neve board and the big studio, that was the Impellitteri record we just did. And then the sending it through the mail is the Destroyer of Death album I did recently.
Awesome.
It's like done two. One was done old school, one is done new school.
Yes.
It just amazed me how the difference is. And I am not an engineer. I'm not good with the technical. I'm not even good with the internet. And I've been able to get to a place where I just have a really good mic and a ProSonus system, and I just sit at home, record my vocals by myself, and then I send it off dry bone. I have no idea about auto tune. I have no idea about EQing. I have no idea about editing, really. And the engineers take care of that, but at least I can do it by myself at home.
Absolutely.
Well, before it was just walk in the studio and you stand in the mic and you belt it out, and they do the rest.
Yeah.
I'm still in that old school. I'm one of them guys that hasn't really caught on to the new technology so much,
Yeah, totally. And that's what I still love to watch, the old studio experience. And, I've years ago did an album with the recording system was one that the very one that Elvis had recorded a couple albums on. And it was 8-track.
Yeah.
Oh, did the whole album with 8 tracks. It was interesting. And then the other thing I remember is one day with John Elefante, Dino Elefante, Pachyderm Studios. Dino called a few of us and he said, I need some help carrying in the new board. And he had gone from this huge board to a brand new automated board. And they were, this was just when that whole thing was happening, and Neve had put it out the first automated board. And I remember, after it got all hooked up, and I don't remember who was in the studio that time, but I remember watching it and watching all the levers move by themselves.
Yeah.
And we were just awestruck. Wow, that's so amazing. It's amazing. And I'm thinking, look how far we've come since that time. Now that's an antiquated board. He spent over $100,000 for that board. These days, you could probably pick it up for less than $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah, things have definitely changed.
Yeah.
So, Ian Hunter says, I love your work on the Destroyer of Death album. You have a lot of fans, and you've been on
Thank you,
so
Ian.
much. And Rob, do you ever see yourself slowing down, or are you just still in the thick of things?
I'm still in the thick of things today, but I've thought of slowing down. But
Yeah.
I really would like to release some more solo material first, and then maybe I could slow down. I don't know. But I've just been grateful for what I've been able to do, and
Yes.
it's starting to get a little harder now. I've dealing with health issues and stuff like that, and travel really beats me up. I really don't like traveling, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I agree.
when who was it recently? Oh, when the drummer of Iron Maiden said, I retire from touring. I heard that and I was like, oh, I can relate to that.
Yes.
I don't know if he's retired from recording albums with Maiden or not, but he's done with the hotel, getting up first thing in the morning, getting on a bus and then a train or a plane, and just every day. The whole thing about rock and roll, I mean, the 2 hours on stage is the greatest, but to get there is hell. That's like,
yes,
that's where all the work is trying to get to that gig and trying to, have the energy to do it and keep safe and not get sick on the road. That's for a singer. That's my personal nightmare, is trying to keep away from people with colds and everything else. So,
yeah. So when you get on stage and you do an hour or less, generally, on stage, people, when they think of you, they think of you as that guy on stage with the microphone in their mouth. But that's 1 hour out of hundreds of hours that you're not on the stage.
yeah.
And in that time, you're preparing, you're traveling, you're lugging things around, you're doing a whole lot of things that facilitate that 1 hour on stage.
Yeah.
But it's a whole difficult, at many times, a difficult life.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, when you're 22, like I was when I started, it's just, you have all the energy in the world. You can do it,
Right.
And you're so snowblind, you're so focused on it that you're going to do it no matter what,
Absolutely.
But through the years, you got life, you got family members, you got, like life happens anyway, even though you're doing that. And it makes things difficult.
Totally
sometimes.
does.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, we're ready for another 40 years. By the way. And love what you're doing. One last question from Michael Price. He says, what is your favorite song to sing?
My favorite song to sing live?
That's probably like saying, who is your favorite kid? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm a Warrior is my favorite song live, because that to me is the one the fans really react to the most and sing back to me, and it's always a joy to sing that song.
So Rob, how does it feel when you're singing a song like that and you look out and everybody is singing along with you? That has to be an awesome feeling.
Yeah, that's the best feeling. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think when the audience singing back to you, I think that for me is a thrill still to this day, and I look forward to it. I look forward to going to Japan, because that's what they love to do out there, is sing it back to you. So it should be a lot of fun.
Well, and I'm excited for your Japan tour. Japan has been really good for metal artists for all of these years. Sometimes the least thing that you expect. I remember when Stryper years ago came back from their first tour in Japan and telling us all about Michael Sweet, the singer for Stryper, was my first worship leader in Sanctuary until they just got too busy. But I remember how excited they were coming back, and they said we can spend all of our time in Japan and never leave and have sellout concerts. They were so receptive. You find the same thing even now. Yeah,
and it's the cities they're clean, they're beautiful, the people are very kind and very enjoyable, and respectful. It's awesome. Really nice. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
Rob, we got to do this again sometime, and I'm hoping that before too much longer, we can actually spend some time over some coffee face to face and
Yeah.
to see you in person. I can't believe that we haven't done that yet. So
Well, maybe we need to do that. You know,
I'd love that.
Maybe next time I go up in that area, up in Tennessee area or North Georgia, you know, anywhere up there, maybe I can jet over and see you, you know?
Please let me know. And we've got a whole church here full of metalheads that would love to see you too, and love to have you part of the fellowship here. So
yeah, I'd love to go there and check it out. That'd be great.
It would be great. Rob, thank you once again. I appreciate you, love you, my friend, and thank you for all of these wonderful years. And the new album is on the screen. You know, you need to listen to Impellitteri if you haven't. Really, really great music, and you know, I'm sure that you can listen on Spotify, wherever music is wherever you can grab it. But grab the CD, you know, get a hard copy of it, and you'll be glad that you did. Rob, thank you again so much.
Well, thank you. I love you guys. I love your ministry, and I thank you that I could be a part of it with you, you know?
Thank you. Honor, total honor to have you here. And folks, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.